Welcome to Invisible Reality, Dr. Manoj. So I know you and I've researched you, but I want the audience to know who is Dr. Manoj. So can you tell us a little bit about your background and how did you choose medicine?
Sure. I was raised in Canada. I've traveled a lot during my life. I lived in India for many years. My father was a family physician up in Toronto, and he was adored by his community. So we kind of grew up in his shadow. When I say we, it was me and my brother. But eventually, we got into med school in India and residency eventually in Houston, Texas. So I did my family medicine and my internal medicine, got double boarded, and I worked at Houston Methodist Hospital for many years, probably 18 plus years as a hospitalist doctor. I also have experience outpatient practice, but because of my own journey from my childhood, growing up in a very dysfunctional family and lots of chaos and violence and things like that, I was always exploring the depths of the human mind, the cause of suffering, truth of reality. So that took me on many journeys over the years and eventually landed upon integrated hypnotherapy. That was about
Yeah.
6 years ago. And everything came together. All of my seeking and searching and exploring came together in that world. And I was sold hook, line, and sinker. I had so many healings happen and everything just made sense. It was just like something clicked. I could feel it in my bones. And the deeper I got into that world, the more I healed, the more I helped my patients, and I was able to integrate it with a lot of the work I was doing. And eventually got certified in hypnotherapy. I even did a fellowship in it. And here I am. So I'm exploring doing some part-time medicine and doing hypnotherapy but integrated hypnotherapy, incorporating a lot of the things I've learned over the years and from many teachers and many masters, and just at least those things that I had a big conviction for that work. Because, in medicine, as physicians, we're all about instant quick fix. We want things
Yeah.
done, right? And in therapy, it's all about takes 2 years of
Taking
constantly
time.
searching and seeking. And this was probably one of the most quickest beneficial techniques that I ever came across. And it's hard work, it's intense, but the freedom that comes after it is like nothing else.
That's nice. So what inspired you? As I know, beside family medicine, internal medicine, clinical hypnotherapy, integrative clinical hypnotherapy, I think you do lifestyle medicine. So
Yep.
what took you to that route too? What inspires you?
In general, I was always looking to heal people at all levels, like how integrative alternative medicine works, where people healing should be at 4 levels, at the thought level, emotional level, your energy level, and at the physical body. I feel that what we do as physicians and in traditional medicine works from the bottom up with the physical body and eventually give relief to the patient or the client from his thought and emotional level. And when it comes to hypnosis or psychotherapy, it's working from the top down, from thoughts and emotions, and eventually it does affect your physical healing, as you know. But so ECLM lifestyle medicine was just another sort of add-on or an adjunct to augment this healing. As you know, there's such a big body of work on gut brain health. So why not, while we do all these explore allopathic medicine or hypnosis, why not figure out what's going on with the person's diet and help them from that level and what's their activity level. There's so many things that encompass ACLM, which is what I liked about it. It really looks at the whole picture, right?
Yes.
It's the mental health, it's your social health, your connectivity, mind, body. So it's all encompassing, but it's also based on a lot of well-founded data. So it's not just, you're just pulling something out of a hat. It's
Yeah.
based on good, solid, grounded research, which is what I liked about it.
Yes.
So I like to incorporate things. And with clients, it's not like I throw the whole kitchen sink at them. Whoever comes in, they have a certain need, and whatever they're vibing at, whatever their belief system is, I work with them at their level, and we try to make shifts along the way.
That's awesome. And I wanted to ask you, like, what sparked, or like, when and why did you decide to go to clinical integrative hypnotherapy?
So that came to me almost organically. There, a lot of the dysfunction and the pain that happened, I grew up in a lot of violence and lots of chaos in the family. But when my mom passed away, uh, 12, 13 years ago, my exploration went much deeper. I took a deep dive into the darkness to see what is it that's going on with me, with others. I worked in the psych ward in our Methodist hospital, just really getting in touch with human suffering at a deep level. So along the journey, one of my first things I did actually was I just poured myself into service, because that was one way of just unburdening yourself and making your problems feel lighter. So I would go to missions, medical missions, earthquakes, this and that. I was fully engaged in those kinds of things. But at the same time, I kept exploring. I kept exploring. And the universe was so gracious that along the way, there were these people or came along, gave me one clue to a puzzle, another clue to the next puzzle, another clue, and another unraveling, and another unraveling. And as I'm healing, I'm sharing it with my patients and clients and people. And it was this beautiful sort of feedback loop that was happening with the universe, that the more I gave of myself, the more the universe was bringing towards me, even without my actively seeking. So hypnosis is one of those things that just kind of landed, and I
Yeah.
just entered it initially just for fun, right? But for me, it was like an explosion. Something just clicked inside me at so many levels that I just felt it in my bones, and the rest was history. I went and finished all the 5 levels, the practicals, and the fellowship, and I've incorporated it into my work, and the healings have just been amazing. I mean, out of this world. Things that would take years of therapy, like done in 3 to 5 sessions.
So
And
I feel like it's destiny.
yeah, for sure.
Yes.
And part of the work is that one of my goals is for everyone is to help them get back to their innocence and
Yeah.
to get their freedom back, freedom from the prison of their mind. Because the mind is just so powerful. It creates hell or heaven for us on this earth and for our body. And our body is just a projection of that mind. So my goal is sincerely and full heartedly is to just get people to that place of freedom and returning them back to their innocence, because countless people in this world are just drowning in self-hate, lack of self-worth, guilt, shame, and just, even if I could just get them a little crack to find that light in all that darkness, yeah, my work is done for that day.
I feel like that should be the goal for all physicians.
Yeah,
Because yeah, we try to treat people, but then we just stabilize them or like stop the progression. But if we treat their minds, it's gonna affect their physical body. And yes,
absolutely right. No, it's just our system. Unfortunately, our system, the way it is right now, doesn't allow
yeah,
for physicians to fully do that because of the time constraints.
yes.
And, a typical office, they have 20 patients, 15 to 20-minute visits, and the hospitals are overwhelmed, doctors are overwhelmed. So to find that time is the key, right? Even psychiatrists are running out of time. They have to defer to psychologists, but again, I was trying to see what we could do in our limited amount of time that we have together to make that difference, to make that shift in that one person and that client. And if it's a hospital setting, if I can make that one shift, then just at least show them the direction. Hey, that
Yeah.
point them in the right way. And then they can find things and get them the right resources. That's what I liked about the hospital. I think the clinic was a little bit more constrictive for me. But in the hospital, I could spend an hour with this patient and 15 minutes with this patient without the time constraints. So that person who really needed my help, I could sit down with them and connect with them. So I was always doing these kind of things. There was a meditation room in our hospital. I helped a med student, I helped a physician once in those kind of settings, just to get them through their rut they were stuck in, and just powerful stuff, magical. So at least that's all I can say.
That's nice. So how do you integrate the hypnotherapy into your medical practice?
At this point, I just kept it separate. The way it works is that once you're doing medicine and you're really in the system,
Mm.
then it's hard to do that. I can still make shifts in people, connect with them, and at least find their pain point, and at least guide them and help them find what's the source of a lot of their issues at a deeper level, not the superficial level that
Yes.
they come in with. And then I can tell them, like, look, I do this on the side, or I can refer them to something else if they need it. Or if they're not open to it, then so be it, right? That sometimes all they need is
Yeah.
this guidance. And um, so I found it tough to incorporate it in a sort of doc in the box practice unless I was given that time where it was you needed an hour, 2 hours per visit. But for now, I can do it online. I do it on the side without those time constraints and govern my own hours. And it makes it much more, the pressure is a lot less when I do that and we're keeping it separate. But I foresee a future where the more it becomes mainstay, more acceptable to the medical community, where they'll start incorporating it more and more. MD Anderson's doing hypnotherapy with doing, I think, breast biopsies. So there's a lot more science, a lot more research needs to be done. But at my stage, I'm just enjoying the magic. Honestly, people are just coming. They're just word of mouth. I haven't really marketed myself. I haven't. It's just been, when somebody's life shifts so much, it's that's
Yeah.
it. They're just gonna say, "Hey,
Go try it.
um, yeah,
Yeah. I've been recommending it for many people, but I feel some, like a big majority, are hesitant to try it or like they don't believe it works.
right,
Yeah. So I always tell them if you're not open to it, it's not going to work.
right." Is your belief system has a big part in everything, and even just in traditional medicine.
Yes.
If if you believe that something's not going to work, well, guess what? It's the mind. That's the way it's going to incorporate it. Any treatment that you're receiving. Your
Yeah.
chemotherapy will not work as effectively if you're very uh, cautious of it or paranoid of it and fearful of it. But the more you let go and surrender and know that it's doing its work, any therapy works better once you open yourself up a little bit more. And this is for sure one of those cases where the more open you stay, the better it works. And it's also for those people who are ready to take ownership of their lives. It
Yeah.
really is. Um, the blame game eventually runs its course and you can stay in the victim mode for a long time. But people get tired. Eventually, they realize they brick wall after brick wall, and it's a cycle. So this is really becoming the master of your life, taking ownership of your life, and making you the conscious God that you are, not the unconscious God, and creating by default.
Yeah.
So that's the deeper side of this work. But as far as convincing people, I get it. The hypnotherapy has been around for a long time, Reem. It's been around ages. It's just evolved. I think people are not, the one thing that I have to try to relay to people, it's come into a renaissance, so to speak. People were doing 30 years ago is totally not the same what we're doing now.
Yeah.
We are doing therapy where we're doing deep inner child work. We're closing chapters. We're not just opening folders and
Yeah.
willy nilly visiting a past life and hey, or ancestral memory and just opening it up for no reason. No, we take it. You have to come in with an issue and we focus on the issue. We don't open up Pandora's box unless we have a solid issue that we want to work on. And that issue works like a heat seeking missile to find the right memory, the right folder, the right childhood trauma that really is operating in the background. And once you do that, you rip the problem out from the root and everything just starts to fall apart like in branches of a tree. Versus everything else is more you're snipping, trimming branches and whatnot. So much deeper. But you're right. More of these kind of interviews and things like getting the word out there to let people know that this is a whole different game that's going on. Why people are experiencing this new age healing, you can call it.
So that makes me think of like of the most like conditions or issues that came you faced, like you used clinical hypnotherapy for and it worked.
That's right.
So
And
what
so the way,
most
Glenn,
like issues that you faced, like what the client comes up with?
oh
Or
yeah. So for example, I mean, I can talk about me personally. For me, it was a lot of guilt and shame. Guilt, shame, lack of self-worth. And that was just because it was poured down my throat. A lot of that connecting with my mom's passing away. I grew up in a typical dysfunctional, kids who grow up or people who grow up in dysfunctional families have certain traits. And actually there's a beautiful organization called Adult Children of Alcoholics and or Dysfunctional Families, which was wonderful. It helps to dive deeper into those traits and what is really operating in the background. They even use the word inner children like we do in hypnotherapy. An inner child is nothing but a part of you
yes,
that's stuck in time. That's all it is. We call them inner children. It's just fun to say it, but really it is just a part of us that's stuck in time, a memory or an event that we didn't fully process and release in that moment. It gets stuck with us and then it operates. It could be something our parents said. It could be violence. It could be something our teachers told us that you'll never amount to anything. All of that sticks with us, stays with us, feelings of rejection. And so those are some of my traits, right? The guilt, the fear of authority figures. I would always shy away from anyone in that surgery. I could just feel it. And in this process, it's almost like going back in time and rescuing those parts of me, feeling those hurts, releasing those emotions, reintegrating those parts of me. And the more I did it, the more freer I got, the more comfortable I got. Because when you have this fear of authority figures, among other things, it's hard to be your authentic self
yes,
because you're afraid to be totally free and totally you.
yeah,
And that's what happened for me as I went through the process and I got it, understood it. It just, the more I leaned into my discomforts, the more freer I got, and the more I wanted to share with the world. And I'm 47 and I'm in a much more beautiful place than I was 20 years ago. I was a hot mess
well,
back then.
it's never too late, you know. Yeah,
Never too late. I had an 80-year-old patient I did it on, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and he had a fantastic session.
To be honest, I feel happy when people seek to heal themselves because I'm like,
Yeah,
y- like you need to live the rest of your life free and like in peace.
yeah,
So yeah, well, conscious people need to consciously wants to do that. So we can't force people or like we can't convince them. I think the mainstream, like many physicians now are turning to other modalities to heal patients, not just to
yeah.
treat them.
Yeah, I mean, the world of integrated medicine is so broad, acupuncture,
Yeah.
Reiki masters. There's so many different levels and ways people are exploring. And it's great to explore. It actually makes it kind of fun. And I tell people, you don't have to do just one. Find something that works for you. You can explore
Yeah.
all of them. You can do your cold plunges. You can do your diet is huge. If it's done properly, it can make massive changes in your mindset. So why not explore? I chose this path because it resonated with me. It was something that just came very natural to me. And it's almost like you felt like you're born for it. And then it's just, okay, this is what all that preparation was for leading to this. And I'm still learning though. I never stopped learning. I never stopped incorporating new things. But the other beauty of this work is that in traditional medicine, it's typically doctor and patient, right? So here's a doctor giving ABC treatment and therapies. But in hypnosis in this world, the client stays in the driver's seat. The solution comes from the client deep inside. I'm just holding the space and
Yeah.
nudging them here and there. But that's when that wisdom comes from inside, it's so much more powerful. It sticks, it lands, and it stays.
So they are their own heroes.
They're their own heroes. That's right. Right. And it's such an empowering thing
Yeah.
if you think about it,
Yeah.
versus you coming and just kind of, here's another prescription, here's another therapy, here's another protocol for you, right? And if to empower somebody and bring them back in their power, what better thing can you
Yeah.
ask for?
So, can you describe one memorable case you did on a client and you felt there's a big difference, like you saw the difference?
I have several actually, but I'll talk about a physician. She very successful. She Her first marriage. She was probably in her 40s when I saw her. Her first marriage was to the love of her life. It was probably before around med school, but she also had a troubled childhood. But this person was, like that Jerry Maguire, "You complete me" kind
Yes.
of thing.
Yeah.
It was that kind of person that just brought out the best in her and everything, and it's just that kind of love. So I think they were vacationing in Brazil, and the bus that they were in rolled over, and there was an accident that happened. She lost consciousness. She was outside the bus. When she woke up, his head was crushed into the dirt, to the sand, and he was the only person who died on that bus.
Oh my God.
And this is the lover of her life and everything she went through from trying to get him back to America and all that. Went through a lot of depression and psychotherapy and addictions and so much that she just couldn't bear it. But somehow she muscled up and finished her med school eventually, got to residency, and became a workaholic. She just worked. She got married. She had 3 kids, but felt like that connection wasn't the same. So that coping strategy of workaholism worked for a good while. She became very successful, but then it just started hitting her. Anytime Brazil came up on the Olympics, or if someone mentioned that, she would fall apart, or just a memory coming up. And then one time I just saw her, she was just like all shrunken down. I could just tell. I opened up and asked her what's going on. And then she came for a session. Right? I told her what I did. And we did about 4 or 5 sessions and released all that trauma, revisited those hurts and pains. And sometimes it's really, when it comes to trauma, it's about feeling those grievances and saying those goodbye, proper bereavement. But eventually she healed. At least she got to a point where she wasn't paralyzed by those memories and those emotions. Like she could talk about what happened without falling apart. We talk about how much PTSD, how many sessions people have to go through and therapies, and look what happened in just 3 to 5 sessions. That was magical. And I could tell many stories like that, but that was a memorable one. It was that one. Yeah.
So how long was that? How long ago was that?
I want to say 4 years ago, 3, 4
Oh,
years ago.
wow.
Yeah.
So if you see her
And
now, you can like notice the difference.
oh yeah, I mean, she's like enjoying life, and she's a very socialite, I would call it. And she's out there doing things. I'm sure things aren't perfect, but at least it's like our teachers that we don't sell enlightenment, we sell functional living.
Yes.
You came to me this issue. This was the issue. We focus on the issue. We try to. Some people come with multiple issues, but I'll focus on that one issue that's really hurting them and causing. It's almost like a knife inside them, and we focus on that. It's like a heat-seeking missile. It gets to the right problem, and the healing is that much better when we focus on that one issue at a time.
So when you talk
And
about
issues are interlinked.
and when you first talked about hypnotherapy, like years ago, and you started like year level 1, and like you went through it all, what did you notice about the people around you who are like one of the most misconception about clinical hypnotherapy?
The biggest misconception. The biggest misconception is about that whole stage hypnotherapy
Mhm.
kind of mindset, where the hypnotherapist can now control your mind and do things against your will, things like that. That's not what we do. I think there is that fear. Probably that fear is more in the East, I think, than the West. I think in the West, there a lot of people are just curious. They're very open minded. Brian Weiss was huge in exploring those worlds. And he came on Oprah. So there are a lot of people who are open minded, but again, it's just explaining to people how it works. What are we trying to do? Getting over those fears that the client remains in control the whole time. It's done ethically. In fact, one of the first commands we do, we have your permission and you trust me. So building that trust
Yes.
is that the onus of that is actually on me, the therapist, to build that trust. And I tell people after a few sessions, if you really aren't seeing some shifts, that's okay, move on. But usually by that second session, you can tell something starts to shift inside you. But yeah, there's stage hypnotherapy back in the day where people used to make people quack like a duck and, act like a chicken and behave in certain ways. That probably hurt the world of therapy than anything else. But
Oh, I still have it's hard to believe that it's true. I always feel like they're faking it. So yeah, I'm always a doubter. Like if it doesn't happen to me, or like if I didn't experience that, it's hard for me to
yeah,
just yeah.
it's hard. I mean, for whatever reason, they were there, and I think maybe at some stage shows they still do it. Those people, the stage hypnotherapists, are also magicians in some
Yeah.
way, and they know how to pick the right people
Yeah.
uh, with. But in my understanding and my personal opinion, it's really not ethical to do that when, especially, you're dealing with the human mind. So everything, and that I just kind of get back from my own profession, right? The ethicality of things always stays at the highest level.
So talking about the mind, what role you think does the mind play in health and healing?
So the mind is deeply connected with the body, right? The body is a projection of the mind at many levels. Whatever you're thinking and healing, if it's not processed over time, over years, just like physics or energy gets converted into one form or the other, those unprocessed emotions eventually get buried deep in the body. And they can get trapped in the liver, in your spine. And there's a whole body of work around metaphysics of disease where they're tracking a certain disease is related to this thought and emotion, whether it's a migraine or your asthma connected with grief or guilt with the liver or your lower back pain with insecurities in your life. Um, there's a whole body of work. So naturally, if you take care of the thoughts and those emotions, it will relay into your body. Your healing will be that much more profound. If you are, and I encourage people, it's not a all or none thing. Please pursue the allopathic route you want to. If you're in serious back pain, get the medicine, get the evaluation. If you have cancer, get the treatments done. But if you did this on the side, it just helps you get into remission, helps you heal a lot faster. And so it augments it rather than replacing. That's why we don't like the word, alternative medicine.
Mhm.
We like the word complementary. And it really is, it's a complementary way of doing things. And so absolutely, every disease process, if you dive deep enough, you can find the subconscious root cause of what's happening with it. And even if you look at epigenetics, which is, the influence of the environment on our DNA and things like that, it includes our own thoughts and our own mental processes, how it affects the DNA. Bruce Lipton in biology believes he did a lot of work on, the DNA and how it gets affected by our emotions. And many people have done those experiments. I forgot that Japanese scientist who did that experiment on the water, and he took these beakers and he would put emotions into each one and would freeze them.
Oh yeah,
And
well, I know it, but the audience maybe don't. So if you don't mind, just explain it in a short phrase.
yeah, and so he took beakers of water and he would pour emotions into each one, like anger to this one or love into this one, and different varieties. And he would freeze those beakers of water, and then he would analyze the molecules under an electron microscope. So the ones where he put in a lot of like negative emotions, it would be those crystals will be all jagged and misshapen. And the ones where he put in the positive emotions, they turned into these beautiful snowflakes and really well formed crystals. And that's published online. People can Google it. You can see the images on there. But let's extrapolate that. Our bodies are 70% water,
Yeah.
even our cells, maybe more. Now, just imagine our own thoughts and emotions, the impact it has on our own body system if we're 70% water. So, what more evidence do you need than that? So, his work was quite groundbreaking, and it's
Yes.
available for anybody to see online or YouTube. You'll find it. And
So,
maybe after our talk, we can send them the
oh
link of
yeah,
it. I
I'll look it up.
apologize. I
Yeah, I'll look
forgot.
it up online. I remember in the level 1 or 2, Raj talked about the research. So I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I know that. So let's say you have a clinical hypnotherapy session. So what a typical session with you would look like? Like,
Good question. The big part of the work is the intake. I really sit down with the client and try to figure out what is that burning issue. That's if we fix this one issue today, how will it make the biggest, which one will make the biggest impact in your life? Go through what therapies they've been through because I don't need to rehash the wheel and repeat things that were done before. I'd like to know what they've failed at, what they've tried. And then once I figure out the issue, and it's an intuitive process for me, I lock eyes and I just feel them out. And as they're talking, sometimes the emotions, the tears are flowing. And once that happens, and I know we're there, that point where that's my point of entry, so to speak. But the first call is just like a 20-minute consultation, free consultation where we go back and forth. I get some idea what the client's looking for and explain what I do. And if after that point they wanted to proceed, then they do. And so after that, the first official session is a deep dive. We do the intake and I take in their story. We set a goal, and that goal has to be a realistic goal that we can achieve. We're not trying to turn into monks by the end of this whole session. What realistic goal can we achieve? Can I function better with my family?
okay.
And then I would like relief from all this guilt bearing inside me, all of this anger that keeps coming up. I keep getting triggered. It might be my spouse, might be my kids, it might be my coworker, and they just trigger after trigger. I tell people all the time, if you have buttons, the universe is going to push it. If you leave, you can leave your family, leave your job, go run to some other country, Japan, and you will find the same people waiting for you in just different disguises to push those same buttons. The universe is vested in healing you. So those triggers are big cues when someone is coming in for healing. And I ask them, they keep an eye on your triggers, the emotions, because your body never lies. Your mind will create 1,000 stories. Shame and guilt could be one emotion, but it could be 1,000 stories connected to it. So the emotions is where all the magic happens. Feeling is healing is my mantra. I keep going over and over again. Feeling is healing. Feeling is healing is what I hammer into the client. And we're going to go deep. We have to feel these hurts in order to release them once and for all. So they don't come to torture you anymore. And that's it. Once I have this good sort of contract and rapport with the client, good idea how it works, we go in. We go in deep, close the right chapters, release those emotions that we have to heal, find the logic, find the wisdom behind all of it that's going on, and bring them to a place of love, of joy, something they can anchor into to replace that void that was left behind by releasing all of those negative emotions. So it's in general how it works. If it needs, a lot of time, most of the work is present life, inner child work. It rarely needs to go back into ancestral healing or past life, but we come to that towards the end if we need to. But majority of my work is right over here in the now. And I keep it very grounded. I keep it very real. And we stay with the body because the body never lies. And an important concept would I try to relay to everybody. In hiding, I kind of don't like that word hypnotherapy. The client, we are all already in a state of hypnosis.
Yeah.
So at some level, I feel like I'm a de-hypnotist. We are all in the story, in the hypnosis of our story of the past, our future projections connected to that past. And it's our story about ourselves. So we're already in the trance of that story. And my job is to snap you out of it, bring you back to the here and the now, back to reality.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to find the right word better than I can't think of anything except de-hypnotist.
That's true. Yeah.
I would love to advertise it like that, but
Well,
it is what
I
it is.
never thought about it like that, but it's very true because your
Yeah.
mind is stuck. And like for me, I tried hypnotherapy, and I remember remembering the first memory that came up when I was 5 years old,
Hmm?
like 4, very young. Like, but in my mind, this memory was deleted.
Hmm.
So it's as if I was hypnotized all my life until that moment when like
That's
I
right.
yeah.
Exactly right. So that's a repressed memory, right? So the suppressed memories we can actively recall just by having a conversation. But the repressed memories are the ones we can't actively recall, but in hypnosis, we find them.
Yeah.
They're people, it's crazy. People regress down to when they're 6 months old in bed
Oh,
or they're in the womb. It's crazy,
wow.
and everything knows feeling or talking and saying and, all of that. The baby is just absorbing it like a sponge.
Oh,
And
excuse me.
people don't realize, yeah.
My daughter has an anxiety. Since she was a year and a half or something, and
Mhm.
she's always scared. She wants me always next to her. And I've been thinking with my husband, we never left her. Like I've never left her anywhere. I've never let her alone. So he was like, maybe the only time we had to leave when they were born, her and her brother, and they were in the NICU for like 2 months. I'm like,
Mhm.
that's the only time. That's the only time. And it's crazy how she's anxious all the time that I'm going to leave. Or a past life. I don't know. But yeah, that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. No, it could be many layers to it. That's one. And obviously being in an NICU it can be very traumatizing for the child, but it's also very traumatizing for the mother.
Yes.
It's a very difficult, extremely, I don't know how it was for you. How it was for you when those few
Yeah, it
months,
was very
like
difficult.
what kind of emotions were you going through?
I was numb, but it was weird. I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't stay. Like I would call the NICU even at 4 a.m. asking about them.
Yeah.
And then like after a few minutes, I call again and asking. So it was hard. I would go every single day there.
Yeah. And did your parents have issues with anxiety or things like that, or your mom or your dad
Oh
or
yeah. Well, the previous, those like kind of generation, they don't admit and they don't, yeah, they don't show their feeling, but yeah, I'm sure they went. I think my mom was depressed and she's still depressed for a long time, but
yeah.
yeah, she doesn't, yeah, she's in denial. Yeah.
So this is the key factor. How old is your daughter now?
6.
6. So she's very young. So the most important thing for you is for helping her is your inner work. So kids feed off moms and dads' energies even without them speaking or saying anything. They feed off of it. It's like a frequency, right? They pull those energies and they feed off of it. So, any kind of spiritual book will always teach you be the example, right? Be that person
Yeah.
that you want others to be rather than keep lecturing and things like that. So your biggest bang for your buck is going to be working on yourself. The more you go within, the more you heal those chapters of your life and revisiting those days in the NICU, all those emotions. So typically when people are numb, that numb means a part of their consciousness kind of leaves their body too, because they just don't know how to feel. The pain is so bad that they would rather just not feel. That's what being numb is. Numb is apathy. And
Yeah.
apathy is one of the darkest emotions. It's even lower. Guilt is like right there at the lowest, but lowest is apathy. For
I have
someone
been in
choosing,
apathy for a long time. So
yeah.
maybe
So,
was a trigger, but I feel like I have been in apathy for a long
yeah.
time.
So empathy is a beautiful body of work. A book I'm throwing out there. It's called Letting Go by Dr. Hawkins. And it's an amazing book. You do a lot of research on all these different emotions and the range and how they affect our lives. The lowest ones being like guilt and shame. Right below that, the lowest level is apathy. In the middle in that range is anger somewhere. And towards the highest range is love and peace. Sometimes in therapy, we can get somebody from apathy or guilt, at least to anger. It's still more positive than this because anger at least leads to action. It leads you to move and do something, right? Quit
Yeah.
that job or do something, take action and reorient your life. But these other ones, like apathy, it freezes you, it numbs you, and it just, you go into this cocoon. So healing those deeper layers, learning how to feel again and having the courage to be able to feel again is very paramount in healing. right?
Mm.
And because that's what we do, we bury it because we don't want to feel the hurts. So we choose we don't want to feel anything.
But the
And
thing,
there,
I
yeah,
don't like a human don't choose to. It's their mind. Like the mind does that without me knowing.
correct. It's a survival mechanism. Whatever comes to your conscious awareness, now you can start to address your mind. Your mind is still not who you are. Who you are is something greater and bigger. Call it consciousness, call it awareness. There's so much that, but there's the mind, there's the body, then there's the real you. That real you can take charge of that mind. And okay, yeah, I'm glad you've been on the driver's seat all this time. Let me take the reins for a little bit and let's move it in a certain direction. Let's try to feel again. We are emotional beings that think. We are not thinking beings that feel. It's a very important concept. Many motivational speakers and people who talk about it. Sometimes for people, there are clients that have had who said, look, I want to feel joy after this baby was born. I was a mother, but I didn't feel it. I want to feel love for my husband. I don't feel it. Right? They had such bad childhood, growing up, whatever. They chose just not to feel anymore. So one of the first breakthroughs that happen with them when I work with them is just learning to feel pain again. When the pain opens up, when that sadness opens up, the heart opens up because we feel joy in the same place and we feel sadness in the exact same spot right there. The heart is like a musical instrument. It has low notes and it has high notes, right? So you go to a movie theater and, for example, let's just say a tragic ending kind of movie or like Romeo and Juliet kind of ending where both people die and it's
Yeah.
horrible and you cry and you cry and it's just a terrible ending. And what are you going to tell people after you see the movie?
It's very nice.
It's very nice. Go
Yeah.
see the movie, right? And there are
Yeah.
many movies like that, right? They're tragic. It's
Yeah.
and the point of that being is that it's we think it's okay when it's in a movie, right? That it's okay, it's a safe place and feeling the anger. But a real good movie, any of the ones that made $1 billion plus, they've taken the viewer through an emotional roller coaster,
Yeah.
right? They had lows, they had highs, they had humor. They took them through that range of emotions and finally to an ending, right? And the movies that don't have those emotional connections usually don't do as well. But some point, you have to have that emotional thing. So my point is that we as humans didn't come in to not feel. We didn't come in to play numb. We came into this 3D matrix, 4D, whatever 5D matrix you want to call it, to be able to feel, but to also learn how to handle those feelings. It's part of the game to know when you feel sadness, feel it fully, let it go. When you feel joy, feel it, let it go. Move to the next moment, the next situation. And this is also what I learned a lot from hypnosis is how to just lean into those feelings and not judge them, not judge your feeling as good or bad. It's only we get into trouble when we prefer not to feel a certain way and only want to feel this way.
Mm.
But if you think about it, Reem, hasn't beautiful music been written in sadness? Hasn't beautiful poetry been written in sadness?
The best
Right?
part.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
There you go. Hasn't some music been written in
Yeah.
written music? And of course, in joy and in love, so much beautiful music. This is what, again, and just my opinion, the understanding of people need to know is that there's this range of
Yeah.
emotions and they're not to be labeled as good or bad. They just are. And
Oh,
once you see, understand the beauty of it, this is what also the therapy that I do allows those things to open up. Because look, they're just feelings. They'll move through the body, right? And that's it. And you let it go. And it's like, then you are surfing through life. You surf. You're just a surfer and the waves of life are coming and you can just do your dance
this is
on
the
it.
best explanation. Thank you so much. I've never thought of it like this. It's
Yeah. Like if you go to, just imagine if I choose to go to a movie theater that has that, and the movie is offering all these kinds of emotions, but I sit tight in my chairs, like, I don't want to feel anything. I don't want to feel anything. I'm just going to sit here. It's just a movie. It's just a movie. Are you really enjoying the movie?
no.
You're not enjoying the movie. You just came out. You might as well get your refund, right? So this is it. If you think of it like a movie, you came to understand, enjoy all of those facets of it, but not get too carried away,
But
right? But
this is how like the human mind have been treated like since we were kids. If a boy cry, he, like in my culture, they would tell him, "Don't cry, you're a man," you know. So
Mhm.
they are raised not to feel their feelings.
Horrible.
Yeah,
Horrible.
and like I
Yes.
would feel shy to show my feelings. Like if I'm excited, I don't know how to show I'm excited because I've been raised this way. Like, don't do that, don't do this, don't laugh too loud. You know?
You're absolutely right. This is not just in your cultures, in many cultures, many homes. There's no religious barrier.
Yeah.
This is a way, unfortunately, how many people are raised.
Yeah.
Grow up tough. You got to be a man. You don't show your emotions out there to the world. You don't show your weakness to the
Yes.
world. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all across the globe, many places. It doesn't matter what country. It's a common theme where people were taught to suppress and be raised that way. But it caused so much damage
Yeah.
globally to people to not be able to show those beautiful emotions and those beautiful feelings that are meant to be felt. Right? It's not a sign of weakness. So vulnerability, being vulnerable is one of the most courageous things that any human being can do. It is, even for soldiers who then they face bullets and all kinds of things, but just being vulnerable and exposing yourself is one of the most courageous, yet the maximum reward. Somebody who's able to do that and bear themselves to another human being
Yeah.
and learning to trust the world again. Because now just imagine, now you get raised like that, suppress your emotions, the world's out to get you. And all of a sudden your projection of the world is that everyone is dog eat dog world. And what kind of life is that to
Yeah.
live in? So we learn to just trust the universe. At some level, try to understand or believe that the basis of every human being is still goodness. And if it's not there, it was because of programming. Something happened to that person, either it was a shooter or whatever it was, something happened in childhood. They did not get the unconditional love without expectations that they needed. And so you're absolutely right. This is, and it's not just in your cultures, in my cultures, in every culture, there are people of different ranges, right? It doesn't happen to everybody, right? And there are many forward thinking parents and people out there, but it is what it is. But again, I'm trying to put people back in their power because that can be a catapult. Now that you were raised in that, to find a new freedom, to be able to feel again, like, you know, coming out of the dark.
Yeah, I used to feel bad about it, but then like I used to have anger toward like my parents or like my mom because she doesn't show
Mhm.
emotion. But then after hypnotherapy and after like understanding everything, I don't like they did the best they know.
There you go.
That's how they were raised. And actually they were raised tougher than that. So
Yes. So
yeah.
this is beautiful. So what was the power? The power in just those words you said. They didn't know any better. That pulls you out of victim mode into empowerment. Just that understanding. Sometimes in hypnosis, just getting the understanding is huge. It's huge, right? Because now you suddenly realize, oh, shit just rolls downhill, right? A lot of people in my culture, they were like raised in a straitjacket during all that, slavery time, this and that. So they are breaking out of mold, right? And it's, so you just kind of have to see that we are just a byproduct of our programs from childhood, and so are they. They just didn't know any better. And that's just how it just went on. But now with our globalization, the internet, and how knowledge is moving at such a astronomical speed across the board, we are in a different phase. We're like, enough's enough. We're changing the game here. And so that our
Yeah.
future generations and for ourselves, we can have a much brighter future ahead.
Yes, that's true. So recently I've heard you hosted a workshop on subconscious clinical hypnotherapy. Is that right? No.
No, I'm going to be doing that in August.
Okay, in August. So what is the goal of that event and what are you planning to teach in for participants?
I'm teaching level 1 hypnotherapy. Like I said, there's 5 levels, but there's just so much in level 1. And it's to really make it clear out there. It's not, you don't have to do this only if you think you have to be a certified hypnotherapist. No, this is for everybody. The amount of knowledge you get just in level one, a basic understanding of the theory of the mind, how your mind works, how you process information, how we store information. And then towards the end of that level one, learning a little bit of self-hypnosis. That's what I'm going to teach. I'm sort of a level one teacher. But during those two, I think 1.5 weeks, there's someone who keeps teaching level two. Our CEO is teaching level three. So it's a whole big orchestrated workshop. So I encourage anybody to come at whatever level they're at. And it's fun. It sure is fun. You attended it, isn't it? Just like out of this world.
Oh my God.
Kind of fun.
Yeah. I'm actually doing level 3 in August too.
Yeah.
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 I'm excited.
I'll be there just as a refresher, just to listen. I'm always learning new things. But I'll be doing level one just before that.
That's nice.
August 10th and 11th. Look at the calendar. Let's see. August 11th and 12th. Tuesday. I'll be teaching level one.
So how do you see the future of hypnotherapy evolving in mainstream medicine?
It's going to take time. I think I'm in the largest medical center in the world. We keeping one foot in medicine grounded and backed by science, evidence-based medicine that builds validity in what to do.
Yeah.
I think that's important. I think we in the West are students of science, of knowledge, hard data. These scientists truly are the priests of the West. What they say goes in our world. So the more research is done, and there are a lot of beautiful people doing experiments and randomized control trials, things like that. The more that kind of evidence comes out, and then the more streamlined our therapy and more consistency with solid data to present to the public, then it's going to take on a whole new phase. It's going to explode. But the establishment to really truly adopt it, we need a lot more data and research publications out there. There are a lot of reports, things like that. But something that's a bigger project, it could be done on a bigger scale. And it's well recognized in the psychiatry community. Harvard, the head of psychiatry at the my hospital, is hypnosis. Yeah, hypnotherapy is totally valid. It's a valid form of therapy. Yes. It's just, again, because of the time constraints and things like that, and the medicines. And people there are a lot of sick people. I mean, you name it, schizophrenia, so many different personality things. We've on so many medications. Hypnosis may not be for everyone, but there's definitely a vast majority of the world that it still can work wonders for if they're open to it. But to answer your question, take time. It's an organic process. Just like with me, how the universe brought things to me, I think same thing with the medical establishment. Doors will open as they have new discoveries in science. They'll have new discoveries in, just like in my hospital 5-6 years ago, we didn't have music therapy wasn't that common. Now I can order music therapy and it's recognized because it had data. And look, it actually changes healing. It helps with pain. It helps with palliative care, right? So people are getting open to it. Modern medicine will come around to it. It just takes time and patience.
I feel like the more physicians are open to it, the more people would trust it.
Yes.
Because the physician give it validity.
For sure, right? And how the physician approaches it as well. Yeah. There are many people who might choose to leave it all. And in my experience, when it comes to alternative world and allopathic medicine, sometimes our egos get in the way, and each one can get on their high horse. They'll say, no, this is how this should be. That's all woo-woo world, and woo-woo world will say, oh, that's all. They're all trying to poison you with all their chemicals. But the truth is always in between. I think things can complement each other. It's about your belief systems about those therapies, which can really influence how your journey is in healing.
And the beautiful thing that hypnotherapy has no side effects. You can try it just if you want, and
exactly. You're right. Because unlike medications and drugs, this really it's safe. It's validated. If I had time to explain, I mean, how many been around for like thousands of years. It's just in a much more sophisticated way, the way we do it now. And the world needs it. World needs it.
So, what keeps you motivated in your roles as a physician, and what keeps you motivated as a clinical hypnotherapist?
Despite all the pain I went through and my journey to be who I am today, with all the blessings that came along the way, the more I put myself forward, leaned into the fire, opened my heart to myself and the world, magic started to happen. Real magic started happening in my life. And I've just noticed that the more I share with the world, the more it just something shifts inside me. There's not a single client that ever comes to me that doesn't have some issue that I resonate with at some level. I probably had the whole gamut of it. So there's always something there. And it's before I used to get surprised, but now I'm not surprised anymore. It's like, oh, I recognize that one. I recognize that one. And so that keeps me going. It just keeps me going. And if I to share it forward, like people came to me and were blessings in my life, I would like to be a blessing in other people's lives. And that's what keeps me going. I have been blessed with a beautiful family, amazing kids, and those kids are always teaching me, keeping me grounded. Got amazing wives. And so it, it just, when you get overwhelmed with so much gratitude and the heart just, your cup is just full, it's only natural for it to overflow. And that's what I'm doing. When I work, whether I do it as a physician, traditional medicine, or hypnosis, I love both. And it's just different ways or forms of that cup overflowing.
Yes.
And because when that cup is full, then the energy just keeps flowing, right? You don't, and that's what that's what I feel. That's what I've learned. And yeah, that's what keeps me going.
So you mentioned you got the board and residency in family medicine, internal medicine, and then you have the style medicine, lifestyle medicine,
Yeah.
and then hypnotherapy. And I think in between, you did a few other things. So how do you
Yeah.
balance between all of this and your personal life and family life and all the studies you do?
Great question. It's balance is key for me. It's not like I'm only doing one thing and like they're all in a silo. There's a lot of incorporation in what I'm doing, but again, I'm staying focused on the client, what they need. They don't all need everything, and I don't need to overwhelm them in that one visit. It's not fun for them. It's not fun for me. And they just like, okay, what was all that? So just having all these different tools in my toolbox, like, a surgeon has so many different scalpels to his disposal, but he doesn't need to use everything. He just needs the tools he needs, and he puts that one back and brings that one in. So that's why I look at it. I just have my tools, and those tools come out intuitively based on what that client needs. And it works. Sometimes it's magic when it happens. I kind of just surprise myself. But just a little bit of time, what that client needs without overwhelming them.
Okay.
That's the key. I think we can get too excited sometimes and give more than what the client's ready for. But that's what I do. I think whatever bit of hypnosis or my mind body stuff I can incorporate into my allopathic world, I do that. And vice versa. If I'm doing hypnotherapy, but hey, this is some legit medical issue that we need to address. And this is something that, yes, we can keep doing this, but you need to go through standard of care for some of these things as well, and not just leave it.
Yeah.
And people get a little trouble like that. And because of my upbringing, I've always kept family first. My spiritual life, my family life, they keep me grounded. I think they were a key source for me to keep me grounded in my work at the hospital. And when I'm doing hypnosis, I love to horse around with my kids. I play with them. I do, I want to travel with them. So there is just, and you learn so much from each other. So just keeping my priorities straight. I could easily overwhelm myself with work, but then I'll get thrown off balance and children suffer. And that's not what I want to do to them. So it's you can have that balance. It's just about sitting with ourselves and finding what's our priority. But many people, and again, that's my priority because I want to have that time with them. And it's crucial at an age, they're teenagers and there's a 10-year-old. So I personally would like to be a present father. The way I'm present with my patients, I just would like to be present. And that presence is so important. And I can see it in the kids' eyes, when they need me, when life throws some curveballs at them. Just being a present dad, it's part of my duty or dharma to be a dad, right? It's one of my roles, one of my hats.
Yes.
And so, yes, you play many hats, but whatever role I play, I try to play to my best and knowing my limitations, knowing I'm not going to be perfect, but just try to be present no matter what with that person and know that presence sometimes gives the energy you need in that moment.
So I'm having fun, but I won't let you stay for long. So for this part, because we're gonna have another like a podcast with you, there are so many questions I want to ask. Yeah. So the last question for today: what is your mission or vision for your patients and broader community?
just like I mentioned in the beginning, if I had to choose a mission and a purpose for them, is to get them back to freedom and return them back to their innocence. Reintegrating that child, because there's the adult us that has the wisdom, but the child needs the vindication it needs, that has the wisdom, but the child, when both come together, it's magic. Discount that child that's free and loved and healed. That's what brings a magic in your life. Magic is where, like, whoa, any child, you see how they look at everything with curiosity and
Yes.
fun and wonder. That's exactly where my goal is personally, and also for my clients, is to be able to see life with that wonder, that life is happening for them, not to them. And that only happens when they close those chapters and see those things. And when magic starts happening, when they get little tastes of that magic, it really becomes fun. It really does. It's like you understanding that there is a bigger source of power at play, that you're on a ball of dirt that's spinning at 10,000 miles an hour. And there's something that's keeping it all together, right? There is a higher plan, and higher purpose. And this would be my wish to all my clients and anyone who comes to me, from whether it's family or clients or patients. I just want freedom from them, whatever belief system or story they're stuck in. If I can explode that door, great. If I can just open that door a crack, so be it. But just letting them know that their freedom is right around the corner. And to know, and there's a common mantra I do, is I say, you were born innocent, you will remain innocent, you will die innocent, no matter what. And I can expand on that, but there's just getting this understanding that anything you did unconsciously or consciously is because you didn't
Programming.
really have a choice. It was your programming. It was your programming, and that's not your fault. And you understand that, you return back to innocence, you return back to unconditional love for yourself, and then it starts to flow. And that's for the broader community, that's what will bring us back to oneness, is that state of love, freedom, joy, magic. Yeah.
Well, community is lucky to have you. We're lucky to have you on Earth. I'm lucky to meet you, to have met you. Well, and thank you so much for your time. And hopefully soon, after all your travel, we're gonna do part two.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for having me. It's really the blessings all mine. I always tell people, you heal, I heal, we heal
Okay.
together.
Yes.
There's no hierarchy in this game. And so again, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you so much. Have a beautiful night. Thank you. Oh, well, it's
I
night
re
over here. Bye bye.
You're daytime. It's daytime. All right, Reem.
Bye bye.
Get some rest. Bye bye.